you go. So good evening, and thank you for giving me this chance. This, like I told you, is the start of a podcast. It's something new for me, and I hope it's something new for you. New enough that it's worth your time, but familiar enough that it feels good. What this is, I'm calling it a rawcast. So I'm not going back and editing this. I'm not going back. It's straight up. And you also just choose to dive in. So here we go. Here's 4 different topics. And I hope that by the end of this, I can contribute something that helps you know yourself better. Maybe you'll get a little bit closer to your emotions. Maybe you'll have some new insights intellectually, physical stuff. I think at least one of you, if not both of you, are doing sports. We'll share some stories about that journey where we've gotten so far. And then social. That doesn't just mean your roommate, doesn't just mean your wife. It means people. What would you like to talk about?
I know. I'm liking these two. Let's go with this one first. Yeah. Can we do 2?
If there's time, we have
Okay.
a bit of a time crunch because I have 20% battery power left.
Okay.
Physical.
This one matters.
As we go through this, feel free to say your uhs and ums. People are people, and we process our thoughts and we think, and we get them out eventually. Who knows if it picked up anything I just said or not? That being said, take time with your responses. I'm not in a rush, other than the fact that my battery power is low.
It's fair.
What either is your greatest physical accomplishment or your next health goal?
Very good.
I'd say my greatest accomplishment physically is from freshman year to senior year. I gained about 40 pounds, and people freshman year didn't think I was gonna be anything as far as sports were concerned, and I don't know. I proved a lot of people wrong, and I don't know. That's something that I'm super proud of. And to anybody who's undersized, I always like to tell them that hey, I was downsized 40 pounds a couple of years ago. So don't sweat it. Just keep working, and then when you look up, you'll be bigger, faster, stronger. So love it.
To this date, I think my biggest accomplishment is probably earning my scholarship to come here, as it was the only offer I had coming out of high school. And growing up, I was told I used to be a lot bigger when I was a kid. You see it, but I was told I wouldn't be fast enough, strong enough. I was too small. But just getting the scholarship just proved to myself that I'm more than enough to compete at a high level. And so far this year, I've just performed better than I thought I would, and I'm just going to keep carrying with it.
Thank you. And real quick, none of us know your names yet, so please hear them here.
My name's Joshua Lucero.
And I'm Drew Bufford.
And I'm Joseph Parrish. Gentlemen, pleasure to meet you. Stick around a little bit longer with me. I was a bigger kid in high school myself. I can't really say what all went into helping me lose weight. There was a week I just dropped 20 pounds. And then it happened a second time, and then it very slowly started to go down. I did start at some point I started running, but I wasn't pushing very hard. Didn't really change my diet. I do call it a blessing personally, because everybody else would have said, dude, you're sick. You're dropping weight way too fast. So I get that. I get being the big kid. And then you go back senior year and people are like, who are you? What the heck happened over summer? So far, I mean, the biggest thing I've done to push myself was an 8-mile run. I did an 8-mile run this last September. There was a stupid death hill. And we'll talk more about that at the end if we have time for an opportunity to share just a little bit. I call it sharing your chimichangas. We're sharing those things that our life experiences, our ingredients have allowed us to each make. So I'll get to share some shimmies at the end. Hopefully I can enjoy some of your shimmies. What was prep like for those accomplishments, the ones you just discussed? What was prep like? Can it be copied? Can I be like, hey, dude, over here, here's the blueprint. Check it out.
All right. Yeah, I'd say the prep was definitely it was consistency for sure. Everybody, that's the key ingredient to everything that comes that everybody wants, like the big end goal. It all starts with consistency. And so for me, like the blueprint I would say was like staying in the weight room and like staying on top of my eating habits, because eating is 80% of the equation, and then 20% is the lifting part. And then so I would say, like, as far as getting those like physicalities and stuff like that, like it takes preparation and it takes wanting what you want. Like if you really want it, you'll go out and get it. And I sincerely believe in that. So I mean, it takes drive and it takes consistency, and those are really the main ingredients. So.
As far as when I was a kid losing my weight, I'm very fortunate to have shot up like 8 inches in 1 year. But then I actually I cut soda and like fat foods out of my diet like completely. I went like 2 years without drinking any soda. I ran a lot, and I was just like, I loved running, but like I hate it now, but I used to love it. And then as far as like earning my scholarship, leaving high school towards my junior and senior year, like I had no looks from anything, and I was like starting to think that my dream my whole life wasn't going to come true, and like my parents were pushing me to do things that I didn't want to do. And then I sat down with my dad and my mom, and I told him I was just like, even if it doesn't happen, I'm going to go out having as much fun as possible. And I told myself the reason I'm playing this is because I loved it from when I was a little kid. And since then, I've played the best baseball I've ever played. And I'm just happy that I found the love of the game again. And it's allowing me to just keep going as far as possible. And like, I love working out now. I love playing. Me and Josh and our other friend, we hit after every practice together. And I just enjoy being around the game a lot more than I did back then.
Taking an I'm processing a little bit. You were wanting this since you were a kid, you said? Tell me again what exactly it was you've wanted for that long, because that's a long time. It's a long time to go, I like this, and then to hold on to it. How old are you now?
I'm 19.
You're 19. Don't ever let someone diminish that.
Yeah.
Just recently, my dad shared something with me. He said it took you 33 years to make these cards. It didn't take you a few hours. Everything that I'm trying to share is like, this is my life, and it's taken you 19 years. It's not taken you since you were a kid. It's taken you 19 years to get to today. And here you are. Tell me a little bit more about this when you were a kid. I want to hear about that part.
So obviously, as most parents do, they throw their kid into a sport.
Yeah.
And for me, it was baseball because my dad played baseball, so he wanted me to try it. So he made a team, and I was on that team, obviously. And like, I guess I don't really have full memory of what happened, but I just fell in love with it, and it was the only thing I ever wanted to do. Like, I never wanted to play any other sport other than baseball. And as I kept getting older, my dad just like, we would always go out together, and I just bonded with him. So I associate my love of baseball with my dad. So me and him have like a special connection. So like, the dream as a kid was to obviously make it professional, but as you get older, it's like there's bigger obstacles in front of that. So I cut the MLB out of my dream for now, and in high school it was, I'm gonna play college baseball. Like I wanted to get there first. Like I saw a quote from a big leaguer now, and it was, I've already made it there, and the hard part's over. Now I just get to have fun. So like, he got drafted, and he's like, the hard part's done. It's my turn now to do what I want to do. And that's how I'm kind of taking it. Like when I got that scholarship, I was like, I got the hard part done. It's time for me to just play. And then anything after that, if it's meant to be, it'll be. And I told myself, like, all along that journey, I was like, if God's got a path for me, then it's going to be this. And if it's not, then whatever he has in store is what's going to happen. But yeah, I just fell in love super early, and it's just the only thing I've ever wanted to do with my life. And I'm just super proud to have my dad in my life to teach me things through the game, outside the game, related to the game, whatever it may be. I'm just really happy that he's around.
Thank you. I'm going to check my battery real quick. So I'm going to disappear out of the shot and we're going to come right back. While I'm doing that, I have a question for you to be considering. Consistency and drive were the two things you mentioned as super key for you, at least, and probably for most people. What are the hurdles? What gets in the way of consistency and drive? What are the hurdles and how'd you get over them? You can go ahead and start talking.
Okay. Um, okay. As far as consistency and drive are concerned, I think the things that people get caught up in most often are the attractive distractions. So like the things that people like see in passing, they're like, oh man, I really want to be like that. I really want to do this. And it's like, it takes up so much time.
Do you remember?
Yeah.
Do you remember specifically any of those for you? What were your distractions where you went, oh, no? I want to know what those are.
Well, for me, it was definitely hanging out with like people.
Okay.
And
It's a good one.
it was really hard because like there were a lot of really like I was much of a loner in high school. I'm not gonna lie. Like I spent most of my time to myself, and like people didn't really fully understand me as a person. So even now, I would consider myself like more like to myself, but it was something that I had to get used to because everybody wants validation, and I look for it in all the wrong places, and so I'd get let down, and then that would bring me back to the process. That would bring me back to the consistency, the drive, and stuff, because I knew that if I was going to go out and try and be friends with these people, and they weren't going to try and give back the same energy, then it was like
It's draining.
it's draining.
It's draining.
Yeah.
Any other hurdles? Any other hurdles to drive or consistency? So we specifically talk about one.
Yes.
Are there any others that throw people off their course, or you noticed that you had to overcome?
So for me, I think something that I've noticed that people get confused with when it comes to drive, at least, is they don't understand if they really are driven, like if they really love what they're doing, if they're really passionate about it, and they get really confused with that, and so they'll either give up or they'll do it mindlessly. And so it's like, for me, it was like I knew that I loved baseball. I knew that I loved getting up every day and working until I was exhausted and like that kind of thing. Like I knew that I loved it, and I actually loved it for the sport that it was. Like I didn't love it when it was good to me. I didn't love it when I, like did really well in front of my friends or in front of my coaches to like please people, the validation thing. But I just love the sport. I just love being out on the field. I love smelling the grass. I love seeing the ball fly back and forth. Like that's what to me is attractive. It's God given. Like that's been planted in my heart, and I believe like it's my job to stick with it until I can't anymore.
I love it. Say it again.
From what he said, I just came up with something. I go, so when he said mindlessly, it made me think like when people do things without thinking, it's almost just a habit. But like, I feel like for us, especially like us staying after, like then the way I know that we're doing stuff intentionally is we get angry with ourselves when we're not performing to the expectations that we have. So what I think is like if we were to stay and just swing the bat endlessly, there's no purpose behind it. But like for us, it's not a habit anymore. We're intentionally doing these things to better ourselves and to better each other.
My dad, I don't recall a specific sport that was like, this is the sport with my dad. Other than football a little bit, but it was just watching. It. I've heard my dad say that from his perspective, one of the things that makes baseball great, yes, there's a team out there supporting you, but for just a moment, it's one-on-one. For just a moment, it's you've got to get the ball past me, and I've got to get the ball past you. And it's so cool.
I like that.
For just a moment, it's one-on-one. What this comes back to more of a general sense of physicality and personal health. What are you doing for 60-year-old you today?
As far as the
Physical side of it. That question, apply that to finances, apply that to your intelligence, apply that to your passions and hobbies. Right now, just overall physicality, what are you doing for your well-being today that 60-year-old you is going to be like, thank you so much for doing that.
And then are we allowed to like also talk about mindset and stuff like that?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. So as far as the physicality is concerned, I'll dive into that first. But as far as physicality is concerned, like I'd say like getting in the weight room and doing things that are sports specific. So like taking care of our bodies, maintaining upkeep, all that kind of thing. And like so we know that we'll be able to move when we're older. You know what I mean? And then as far as like the less physical side, the more mental side.
For sure.
I would say challenging ourselves, like going out there and saying, like seeing failure and having to deal with failure, and then figuring out how to deal with that. And I think that will make us so much more beneficial to other people. Like we'll be better resources to other people, because in the long run, like you're only as good as the experiences you've had. I mean, how do I say this? You're only as good as the output you give to other people. So how do I? Does that sound
Contribute.
Right? Yes. Yeah.
Contribute. This is me
is,
trying to contribute.
Thank you. Yeah.
These are my chimneys, and I'm hoping that they nurture you.
Exactly.
So I'm trying to figure out how to use what I have.
That's what I'm saying.
And I think that's what you're doing too.
Right. No, that's absolutely right. You're the person that you become in this long, rough journey is the person that is going to be able to contribute to other people. Yeah. So I think that's what I was trying to say. But basically, you become a better person dealing with failure and seeing things go wrong and then trying to figure out another way to do it. And then, or adding on to something, or, just switching up even the smallest of things. That's how you become a better person. So
60-year-old you is going to be better because of what? What are you doing?
I'm going to start with the mental side just because he finishes with it.
Deal.
So when he says the failure, and I know he can attest to this, but every single year I've played at least, the first thing a coach tells me is the game is a game of failure. Like if you're 3 out of 10, you're the best player on the planet. 4 out of 10, even better. But like even the greatest of players are barely 3 out of 10. So from like as the mental aspect, failing so much has made me realize that it's okay to fail as long as you're learning from it. So like you take out the physical baseball part of it, and then mentally is like you're saying it's okay that I made a mistake, but I know next time that I won't make that same mistake. And then physically I'm a catcher. We're both catchers actually.
Okay.
So just being more flexible than a good chunk of people around the team is really good. So like just keeping our bodies limber and like I guess always like bending our knees. It's bad for the joints in the long run, but like leading up to it, it'll keep our legs a lot stronger than most people. Our endurance will be better. And like most strenuous like squatting and all that. But like I feel like when I'm 60, I'll be pretty fit. Be like compete on American Ninja Warrior or something.
Do it.
Maybe. Who knows? But yeah. Yeah, but I think it'll just keep me flexible, and I don't know, my senses will be higher, like always reacting quicker. And just like stuff that most people, like even teenagers now, that don't have the same like abilities that a baseball player does. But yeah, I just think being more flexible and like endured and cardio wise, it'll just play so much better in the long run.
Don't stop. Isn't this fun? Isn't this fun? Do it. Please do. And if I can get y'all to follow along, like on Instagram and stuff, that'd be so helpful. Those are the main questions. Every so often, as I go through this, it'll branch off into some other questions, like we did. We stopped. We talked about your childhood, hurdles, consistency. As I come to the close, here are a few of my chimneys. And I'd love if you picked one of these. If one of those sounds familiar, let me know, because that means we have something in common. And choose. Just any box number 4. Pick something on there, and I'll just share a little bit.
What's 40-60 rule?
40-60 rule is not my own thing. I learned this Have you heard of David Goggins?
Of course.
David Goggins. I don't know if he is the Navy SEAL that this runner was referring to, but if you go to Google and you type in 40-60 rule David Goggins or 40-60 rule, you'll find some video. This curly haired guy talking about how he met this Navy SEAL, and he invited him to come live with him for a while to help him, and it was pretty intense. And this particular Navy SEAL that he's referring to had something called the 40-60 rule. When you think you're done and you're tapped out, you got nothing left, you're only at 40%. You have a whole, you haven't even half. You have a whole 60% left in you of give. Now, keep in mind, there's probably a price to pay. If you give 100, there's a price to pay if you give 50 or 60 or 70. You're already hurting at 40, but you do have more. You do. That run I went on in September, there was an awful hill, called it Death Hill. I've never ran 8 miles. That was the first time I've ever ran 8 miles. Before that, I got myself ready for it. From about October of 2023 to March of 2024, I went down from 215 to 170 at the lowest. So I just dropped weight and got ready maybe a month and a half or 2 months before that actual run. I started running more than just 5Ks. And I pushed and I pushed and I pushed and I pushed. And I got on this hill, and there was this guy running next to me who has clearly been running longer, or at least looks like he does. And we stayed right by each other for the majority of that hill, and it felt so good to just be like, you're not going to beat me, dude. You're not going to pass me. You might pass me, but I'm going to push really hard. And I ran the whole hill, and then I kept running. And I ran my whole 8 miles. And I was so proud of myself. And I believe just the mindset of having been planted somewhere in the back, you're not done. You're not done. So don't stop. Came into play. When I started running my 2 miles every day, just back in October, I would repeat to myself at a cadence: don't stop, won't stop, can't stop, go. And I basically said that to myself for the whole 8 miles also. So there's the 40-60 rule. You have way more in you than you realize. Even when you're ready to stop, when you feel like you need to stop, you're not done. You don't have to. Now you got to choose. That's more or less the end, but this is a lot about food. You've already have a chance to have some snacks. Have you ever tried a pink lady apple? That specific apple. It is my favorite apple. Before you go, I'd love to offer each of you a pink lady apple. They've been washed. They're my favorite apples. Enjoy. And that's it. That's it. That marker, keep that marker for a second. Write the word physical down on this in your marker color, the one you picked, and start adding people's chimneys to this little card. Write your own chimneys in it so that you've got something to tell people, and start collecting them. Have some cool conversations with people, and thanks for being here. Your name again? Josh. Drew. Joseph. I'm going to walk over and push stop because I don't have a button yet, and that's it.
All right, thank you, Joseph. Thank you. I did upside down. That's kind of tough. Oh, wait. Hang on. I did upside down.